On this overreaction Monday, I haven't decided whether we be overreacting in a good way or a bad way to the Phillies today. Yeah, they won a game yesterday. They did, but they're still a pretty bad baseball team. Joe Giglio, WIP Midday Show, will be joining us in a few minutes here to talk this Phillies team, let's talk this last month or so of Phillies baseball. We're going to talk Eagles training camp as well. Nick Sirianni on the agenda today. Lots to talk about. Trend the AM. We're live with all your thoughts and opinions in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you are watching, whichever platform you're watching on, please do me that favor. Hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe, retweet, follow button. Just hit the buttons, associate it with the platform you are on, and make sure we help spread the word of Trending in the AM and get this show where it needs to be, in front of every set of eyes there is out there. And we've got a jam-packed show. We got a jam-packed week. We got Eagles football later this week. Thank God. We got lots to talk about. But, of course, we have to talk about the Phillies. And, yay, they won a game yesterday. Or, boo, they still stink. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to overreact. I don't know how the comments are going to go. I don't know how anything is going to feel. Honestly, I should probably, since we are going to start this show off with some Phillies talk today, we should probably go some Phillies red right there on the banners there for the day. Guys, I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. You can find me all social media platforms at Bearded Knowledge. Shoot me a follow there as well. Yes, go Birds. Thank God the Birds are here. Thank God training camp has been positive so far, because with this Phillies team, we need some positivity in our life as Phillies fans. What's up, Mark? I'll let Joe Giglio know that he is a great Italian American. Okay, yeah, I'll just start that interview off with that right there. Sure. What is up, Adam? Good morning to you. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. I know I need lots and lots and lots of coffee to get through today. But yeah, we had a good weekend. Phillies needed a win like that yesterday. That's a slump ending win for our team. So Rick coming right in, right off the bat, overreaction Monday with an overreacting positive way, that yesterday's one win can be the thing that turns this Phillies team and this section of the season around. Yes, Zach Wheeler last night threw a dominating 8 innings for the Phillies. Much needed. Bryce Harper got some hits yesterday, ended the big losing streak, etc. And I just don't know. I don't know if I can feel that positive that quickly just yet. One win does not solve weeks, months worth of problems, Rick. I went back and I did it. They are 21-25 since they've come home from London. So this is not a small – people will tell you, oh, it was only 12 or 13 games stretch that they've been bad in. Now, they've been a below-average team now for 45, 46 games. So I'm going to need to see a little bit more. You want yesterday's game to mean something, then they got to go out and win this series against the Dodgers. which is going to be extremely difficult for them to do, Rick, in my opinion. Yeah, the one, but we need exactly consistency, consistency. Big Al, that is what is necessary. I need to see it. If we're not allowed to overreact to the Phillies losing a lot of games in 12 games, as some fans will tell you, oh, it's a long baseball season. A few losses is no big deal. If we're not allowed to overreact to the losses, fans can't overreact to one win. And that's what drives me. We can't overreact to Bryce Harper having 3 hits in one game when he has been so bad so long. LA Knight, yeah. U.S. champ, missed that part of it. Didn't get home till after that. Brandon Marsh catch is the turnaround. Maybe the Brandon Marsh catch. Brandon Marsh has like 4 hits against lefties in his last few at bats. How about that? I thought Brandon Marsh couldn't hit left-handers. This could be a turnaround, but we need to, one game cannot be considered a turnaround. Not even in the remotest possibilities in my mind. 0 chance in my mind one game turns around a team, turns around a season. Now, luckily, we built up a big enough lead that we can maintain, but swept the Dodgers a few weeks ago. Yeah, and I no offense, Rick, we did. It seems like it was ages ago. We did just sweep the Dodgers. Since then, we've been really bad. I highly doubt they'll sweep the Dodgers again this week. This starts tonight, the series against LA. We could be the White Sox 20 losses in a row. Yeah, we could be. It could be much worse, obviously. This team goes as Bryce goes. It's been like that for a bit. Yeah, and Bryce has been going, besides yesterday, very poorly. And again, I brought this up last week. I brought this up a few times lately. Getting hooked here. Make sure I'm unhooked. Bryce is this guy that cannot be criticized for any rhyme or reason. Bryce Harper isn't allowed to be criticized or you're called this or that. The Bryce Harper not being criticized conversation is something that drives me up a wall. Like, I don't understand why we as fans are not allowed to criticize Bryce Harper when the going gets tough. Mitchie Poo is in the house. Good morning, Mitch. Definitely a lot of players in this game, confidence-boosting moments. Confidence-boosting moments, maybe. Yeah, that is very possible right there. Final comment here, because our guest is joining me now here in a second. It was a vibe of the win that meant so much. All right, joining us right now, only I have no sponsor hotline, from the WIP show, Joe Giglio. How you doing, Joe, this morning? Are you there? Can you hear me, Joe? Nope, he jepped out there. Not sure what happened there. We'll see what happens there. Try to get him back. He was trying to join just with audio there. Did not get him in, so we'll see if we can get him back in a second. Nice to see Fried and the Braves get smacked by the Marlins yesterday. Was Max Fried back? Huh. That's good. Well, Brandon Marsh finished last season batting .277, so it was my head scratching that all I heard. We're going to try to do this again here. Let's try to add Joe in again. Joe, are you there? Can you hear me?
I got you, Phil. How are you, man?
I'm very good. Thanks for joining me this morning, Joe. I greatly appreciate your time. We're sitting here talking about the Phillies. We're sitting here talking about, this rough stretch this Phillies team is, and you are not afraid to be honest, like me, about this Phillies team. Anybody that knows you and knows your conversations on the midday show there on WIP knows your opinions on this team. Are you on this overreaction type Monday? Are you overreacting to them finally winning a game? Or are you like me, just it was just one game after a long stretch of bad play?
So I'm probably more in the camp of feeling really good and wanting to overreact. But, I mean, obviously, they have a lot of work to do to get back to where they were. And, you could point out, Phil, last weekend, they had a good game against Cleveland, right? I think they won 8-0, 1 weekend ago against Cleveland. And then they went on to lose again for a while. So it's only one game. But I did feel like yesterday brought some signs that this is about to turn. Obviously, Bryce Harper, right? I mean, they had the hit on Saturday, 3 yesterday, including the home run. And then Zach Wheeler. You go back to the beginning of the season, And this team, they had a good offense, and they certainly had a lot of clutch hits. But I thought they were winning really most nights on the back of their pitching, and then that's really what's fallen apart. I know some of the star hitters have had tough months like Trey and Bryce, but the reality is when your bullpen's coughing up leads, when your starters are getting rocked the way the Phillies guys have, Friday night with Phillips, Wheeler last Monday, you're just going to lose those games. I mean, it's just the reality of baseball. So Wheeler looking like his Cy Young kind of self yesterday really made me feel good. And hopefully, they get Ranger back maybe next weekend or soon after that. And then they could feel maybe closer to it was the beginning of the season. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we're out of the woods yet with a bad month they've had, but certainly feeling better after yesterday.
You bring up the pitching. Are you concerned more with the starting pitching or the bullpen, right now? Because if you think about it, this starting pitching, you got Ranger. I mean, at this point, I kind of feel like I'm begging for Taijuan Walker back. And I never thought I would say those words. And I know you mentioned the bullpen coughing up some leads, but I kind of feel like if the starting pitching would get there, get it turned around, then a little bit of that pressure would be taken off the bullpen at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is it's reminiscent the way the Phillies have handled their pitching this year. It reminds me of the Dodgers, how they seem to do it every year. And the luxury is the Phillies have a lead, right? If the Phillies were chasing the Braves or the Mets, or they were, in danger of not making the playoffs, maybe we'd be seeing Ranger out there gutting through it. Maybe we wouldn't see Kobe Allard starting, on Saturday and Tyler Phillips. There's been a nice story, but obviously tough night on Friday. So I think part of this is just like, this is maintenance. They're just trying to give these guys breaks here and there, like they did with Wheeler around the All-Star break, because they have this lead and they know they got to get these guys through October. So yeah, like, am I concerned about the pitching like just this week? Sure, right? They're playing the Dodgers. Tyler Phillips going to start on Wednesday. They're playing the Diamondbacks, who have been hot lately, and they're probably going to roll Kobe Allard out there one more time. But big picture, I'm not worried, because I think their eye is on the prize, and it's just kind of a bumpy patch right now, because they know they have to get these arms, in the right spot for October. If they burn them out now, it's going to, they won't get through October. So I'm okay with, this might be choppy July and the beginning of August, but by late August, early September, they get them back rolling again, and then hopefully everything's good for the playoffs. I think they have a plan here. It's more of a plan than anything to really, panic about.
So you don't think that the players themselves or the team, Rob Thompson, in the locker room, they're not panicking? I know we as fans are, but you don't think that they're panicking at all there?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I think a couple things. One, as much as players seem to, try to pretend they don't know the standings and the lead, they do. I mean, they realize they have a little cushion to work with. Not that they want to lose games, but they have a cushion. And the second thing is, if this was an out-of-nowhere team, right? Like, every once in a while a team pops out of nowhere. They're bad for years, and then they get good, and then they start falling off. You're like, oh, maybe that was a fluke. I don't think that, because this team now for 3 seasons has been on the precipice of a World Series. So I trust them. I think they're going to find a way to get out of this thing, start winning series again. And really the schedule, you go back to, let's say, after the All-Star break, Pittsburgh's a decent team. Minnesota's a pretty decent team who could be in the playoffs. Obviously, Cleveland is a really good team who will be in the playoffs. The Yankees, then Seattle, I think, is a dangerous team now in first place in the West. So this is just a tough stretch no matter what. And then this week, too, Dodgers, Diamondbacks. But after this, if they could get through this week and even play 500 this week against these two teams, they come home, Phil, next week for the Marlins and the Nationals. And both of those teams are not good anyway, but then they sold off. Like, the Marlins traded like 12 guys away. They're like a minor league team right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies, kind of tread water this week, but then they come home next week, explode, and everyone's feeling good again.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that because the fact that you're not they're not concerned, they're just trying to tread water, they're just trying to get there. Were you disappointed or surprised? I know a lot of big names were not moved at the deadline unless they were from the Miami Marlins there. Were you disappointed or content or happy with how Dave Dombrowski handled the trade deadline? I know everyone would say, like, well, who else did you want him to trade for? Because nobody else was actually traded, big name-wise. But I kind of expected a little bit more of an aggressive approach from Dave Dombrowski. But then when you think about it, he did go out and get exactly what we needed: a bat for the outfield, a lockdown closer to help solidify the bullpen. Like, he did make these moves, but I almost felt like I was expecting a bigger move. I don't know what that move was, but I expected it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I feel similar. Now, it's funny. sometimes we do this here in Philadelphia. We get like so in our zone, like we're just in the midst of this,
Mhm.
that we kind of need to zoom out sometimes and look at the big picture. Like you just kind of mentioned it there. I was listening to the Baseball Tonight podcast, the ESPN
Mhm.
Buster Only, and all of the national guys were giving the Phillies rave reviews and saying what a
Mhm.
good job they did. Sometimes we're like, well, what about this and what about that? Well, comparatively, they did do well. They added an outfielder, which they obviously needed, and they added a back end of the bullpen type. Now, I think the question is that they get the right guys, and that answer will be given to us over the next couple of months. I like Austin Hayes. My
Mhm.
wife's an Orioles fan. She grew up in Baltimore, so like we watch a lot of the Orioles. Her dad used to have season tickets, so we used to go to games, when he first came up, more often, like, once, twice a summer. So I've watched him a lot over the years, and I think he's a good player. He got overtaken on the depth chart by all the other, young studs they've brought up. So I don't think it's a matter of like he couldn't play anymore.
Mhm.
They just found guys that are a little bit better. And one thing I saw, Phil, that was interesting last week, and I went to the game Tuesday night, the last homestand against the Yankees when he hit the home run, his first home run as a Philly. I saw a spray chart where they showed all the balls he's hit this season. And then in Camden Yards, I think 2 or 3 years ago, they pushed the wall back in left field. It used to be a hitter's park. It is not anymore, especially to left
Mhm.
field. And he's a pull hitter. And they showed this where he hits all his fly balls. And in Camden Yards, so many of those became outs this year. And if you just put those same fly balls at Citizens Bank Park, he might have 10 or 12 home runs. And his first Phillies home run was one of those like right over the wall. So maybe there's more to Austin Hayes than his numbers say, because the numbers are like, yeah, he had a few home runs. It's like, really, this is the upgrade. But I do like him. I think he's a good player. And look, anything that gets Johan Rojas less at bats, I'm for. I like Rojas as a defender and a runner, but he can't start, a lot of games if you want to try to win the World Series in the playoffs. So I was okay with that. As far as the relief pitcher angle, I like Carlos Estevez having a good season. They paid a lot for him. Now I wanted Mason Miller, but here's the thing, like you kind of alluded to, you can't force the A's to trade him, right? Like if
Right.
they're not trading him, what are you gonna do? Now I know there was some stuff out there the Phillies wouldn't trade their top prospects. I tend to believe if the A's actually said, "All right, Dave, let's have a discussion," and we're willing, I think he would have traded one of their top guys to get him because that guy's unbelievable, and that would have been the difference maker. But he's not really out there. The White Sox, that was weird about Crochet because they didn't actually trade him. Same thing with Luis Roberts. So when you kind of look at who was moved, I'm okay with what they did. Now that hopefully Estevez and Hayes can do what they got to do in October for this team.
No, absolutely agree. I mean, some people are talking here in the comments about the bullpen and getting the best arms that were moved. It's just the better names weren't moved. Going back to Hayes, you mentioned Hayes and Rojas. Obviously, throw Brandon Marsh's name in there. Dave Dombrowski said after the trade that Hayes is going to be the everyday guy out there in left field, and then Marsh in center field has pretty much. I think he started all but one game since Hayes has got here, I believe, in center field. Do you trust Rob Thompson to actually stick to that plan and start these guys every day in and day out? Because we've seen over the last 2 years with Rob Thompson that he beats to his own drum. He does things his way. It doesn't always necessarily jive what we think he should be doing. It seems to work, but you just said it. You can't be starting Johan Rojas in the playoffs. Like, you just can't. So you got to have faith that Rob Thompson is going to play Marsh and Hayes every day. But do you have that faith?
So I do for now, and I think this is about Marsh. I think they
Yeah.
traded for Hayes to play, and he's a righty, so he's going to see more of the same side platoon anyway. He's going to see right-handed pitching. It's Marsh, and
Yeah.
interestingly enough, I think he has 4 straight hits against lefties after a couple yesterday. So that's a good thing because I think the Phillies are at their best if he can just grab this center field job and run with it. And I think this goes back to the lead they have and the urgency. I think they can experiment with this, because they have a lead and just give Marsh a little runway here. The real tell, Phil, is going to be the playoffs, right? The first
Mm-hmm.
time they see a left-handed starter, that's it. That's when we're going to really know, okay, is this for real, or is he going to go back to, well, we're platooning these guys? Sometimes I think people get upset at Rob because they look at, when he plays Sosa, even though Sosa had a nice year, or Rojas or Pache when he was here. Like, are these things strict platoons? I always think of it like, I think Topper's looking at it. I got to play these guys once in a while just to keep them, fresh and keep them engaged. I might as well play them against pitchers they might have a chance against. I thought he did that with Merrifield, even though he didn't hit it all. Like, all right, I got to play this guy once in a while. I'll put him in against a lefty. So I think we'll probably see Rojas, I don't know, 20, 30% of the time against a lefty, just so he could get some at-bats. You keep him
Right.
just so he doesn't get cold on the bench. But I think they're going to give this a real run. And as long as Marsh keeps his head above water, I think we'll see it in October. But, I'll be waiting like we all will be the first time, whoever it is, Chris Sale or Kershaw, over the first lefty they see in the playoffs. It's like, is he in there, or is it going to go back to Rojas?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried my best. I made a promise because I've been known as a guy, no matter how good it goes with the Phillies. I've been a Rob Thompson. I've been pretty critical of him since he took over here. I made a promise not to criticize him, so I'm trying my best, even amongst the downward stretch that we've been having, to not criticize him. Just let's see what he does this year. But I also, by doing that, have put the expectation. I don't want to say World Series or bust, because that's kind of I hate when people say World Series or Super Bowl or bust, because so much can happen once you get to the playoffs. But there has to be a success, a certain amount of success this year if we're just going to give Rob Thompson that leash to do his thing, right? Like the Phillies cannot get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs this year, no matter what, without facing some consequences for it.
Well, I agree, and I think the pressure isn't just because they're having a good year. I keep looking at this year, and I don't want to be extreme and say like they're going to fall off and be a bad team next year. I think that would be silly to say. But Phil, I look at the ages of their players. I mean, this is I've had this phrase in my head since spring training. It feels like a now or never kind of year. Like this is their best shot when you consider how good they've been this year. You consider they still have Harper in his prime. Schwarber's still here, and he's only under contract for one more year. We'll see what happens there. Trey Turner's an interesting player because he's obviously had a bounce back year this year compared to last year, but he's in his 30s, and I don't know how much longer he could play shortstop because he's just not a very good defensive shortstop. So that would change the whole dynamic of the team. Wheeler, still great, but again, he's in his mid-30s. Nola's in his 30s. You just look at baseball history. Players don't get healthier and better as they get into their mid-30s. They get more banged up and they decline. That's just the way it works. So I think a lot of pressure on them. And then you add in that the Dodgers are a little bit down compared to where they usually are. They're good, and we're going to see them again this week, but it's not the Dodgers teams of the last few years where they're just, easily winning 105 plus games. They're a little bit down. The Braves are way down without Strider, without Acuna. So, and then I'll even throw Phil, I think the Mets are a fascinating team in moving forward because they've kind of, figured it out and they're decent right now, maybe a playoff team. And they've got that owner who will just spend like $500 million in their roster. I mean, who knows? Maybe they sign Juan Soto or Corbin Burns or something. So I think the NL is just going to get tougher. This is the year, and they got to get it done. Call it World Series or bust. Call it got to make a run. If this feels like the year, and if they don't get it, I just feel like it's going to be harder in the next couple of years to pull it off.
Absolutely. You mentioned age. I didn't even realize, I know it's not as old as some of the names you mentioned. It was Alec Boehm's birthday this weekend. He's 28. I couldn't even fathom the fact that he's been up and he came up. When was it? 2020 when he was a rookie, rookie of the year candidate.
Yep.
I can't believe he's even been up here that long at this point. Time seems to I don't know. It's weird when you comprehend how old some of these guys are getting. The daycare isn't as young as they used to be. At this point. So, yeah, you do want to win. You do have to win right now. If they don't win, what is going to be the one thing that holds them back from doing it?
Well, the streakiness of their hitters. It's who they are. It's funny. I saw the stats someone posted the other day. Trey Turner since the ovation, right? Because Trey, it was this weekend a year ago. And look, I supported it. I thought it was a great thing by everyone, and it obviously made him feel good. And the mental part is such a big part of the game. But I kind of chuckled to myself because, yes, since the ovation, he's been really good. But Trey Turner is just streaky, right? He's not as bad as he was at the beginning of last year. He's obviously not as great as he was September, October last year because that guy had 360. Then this year he started off super hot, and now he's gone ice cold. It's who he is. It's just the DNA of him as a player. Schwarber's like that. We do it every June. Castellanos is maybe the most extreme of all these guys, because a month or so of every season, it's like, man, Nick is good. And then a month later, you're like, he can't hit anything. That's just, they have a really large group of players that are like this. So that's my concern because last October was probably the biggest example of it. For the first two series, into the first 2 games of the Arizona series, they looked unbeatable. I mean, it was like they were setting postseason records. It was home run after home run. It looked like it was, it was almost inevitable. There was going to be a parade here, and then they couldn't get a hit, just chasing everything. And we're seeing it again now this past month. They are just extremely streaky, and I just hope that the pitching will be enough that if there is a game or two, Phil, in the NLCS or World Series where they do go ice cold, maybe they could find a way to win that game 2-1 and still find it, get their way out of the series. Because that's what happened against Houston a few years ago, right? They were hot at the beginning of the series, all those home runs in game 3, got no hit in game 4, and they couldn't buy that hit in game 5. It was like a pitcher's duel, and they just couldn't get that hit to win the game, a low-scoring game. I'm hoping this year they could find a way to win one of those toss-up, low-scoring games and not just go ice cold for 3 or 4. But that's it for me. It's the streakiness of their offense because it's who they are.
Mm-hmm. People are saying in the comments right now about World Series or bust, Super Bowl or bust, all this stuff for them. But there's one other comment here I got to throw out. Big Al is saying in the comment section he wanted me to a couple people are saying congratulations on the success of the Midday show, but sorry that you're stuck with Kyle Quinn, your producer. That is one of the comments in the I don't know if that's a personal attack from Al and Kyle or what, but sorry that you're stuck with Kyle Quinn is something I've seen a few times said in the comment section.
Well, Kyle's a good dude. Kyle's actually on vacation this week, so maybe he doesn't have to hear it. But no, I love Kyle. I love working with you. It's we got a great team, and listen, it's going to be a fun few months around here, right? With the Phillies trying to clinch the division, and obviously we're all expecting a big October, and then I'm not sure we're going to get from this Eagles team, but we certainly have a lot of talent, so high expectations. Yeah,
real quick, I got like another minute or two of your time here. How are you feeling with the Eagles now with the first week and a half or so of camp? Obviously, we get our first preseason game later this week. For me personally, my vibes coming out of camp are completely different than the collapse from last year. It's almost like Jordan Mailata had said, like, let's forget about last year. Let's focus on this year. I really am getting the vibes that this team is completely moving on from last year.
I do too. And now I feel better. I just feel better. I will say all offseason I was kind of down. Comparatively to everyone else. Everyone's saying, we do that show every year after the schedule comes out, like how many wins you got, right? The win-loss thing everyone does in their head. Mm-hmm. And most people, people calling all day to our show is like 11, 12, 13, 14. And I'm more like, 10. That last year they were bad at the end. It's just tough for me to just like imagine they're going to be great. But I do feel better. Jalen obviously looks great. And it does feel like the vibe is different. It feels like they have the right mix this year, and hopefully it all kind of comes together at the right time with the coordinators. That could take time, but these guys are good, and they have enough talent that we should feel like anything less than a good playoff run is disappointing. They got enough talent here.
Yep, I appreciate that comment. I appreciate your time this morning, guys. We're talking to Joe Giglio, host of the Midday Show. Look, I'm fascinated by the business of radio, and I'm not going to name names or anything else like that, but your guys are doing great stuff there when the competitors are going out there and spending big bucks to bring other people to try to directly compete with you. It kind of makes you feel like you're doing something right, doesn't it?
Well, look, we WIP I've been with the station since 2013. That's when I started part-time, and then 2017 I started full-time when I did the evening show before a year and a half ago, moving to the Midday with you. We got a great team, and I feel like we just like one show goes to the next, and look, I have fun doing it. We all have fun doing it. I think we got a great vibe going. I think the coolest part, Phil, that for me is talking to people. Like there's so many shows out there. There's so many different platforms out there. Like this one we're doing this on. The one thing that I think is like we've moved forward in technology, but the one thing that's kind of old school about talk radio and about what we do is you can still interact with fans, right? You got the chat going, we got the phone lines going. It's like that's what separates us from just like anybody else, because we'll talk. Like I consider WIP the voice of Philadelphia, the voice of the fan of Philadelphia. So like, like I'll give my opinion, but like I want to hear what people have to say. I want to hear what everyone's feeling is, because that's what WIP is about. I always think about like you're riding home from the game with your dad or whoever as a kid, and you turn on sports talk radio, and like that's where we are. Like those people and everyone in this area that loves these teams, that's what we're here for. So yeah, we're having a good time, and excited to get ready for football season here for sure.
That whole way, how you just summed all that up is exactly where my tagline for this show came from originally, where your opinions actually matter, because fans do want to have a place to talk and have their opinions heard. and all that kind of stuff. And some of my greatest memories as a child growing up in the 80s and early 90s were in the car listening to WIP with my father. You know what I mean? Talking sports with my dad in the car as you guys, well, not you specifically, but the channel, were explaining the stories and talking to other fans and stuff like that. Some of the greatest memories of a child are from that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, that's how you build those. That's how you become a sports fan. And
Absolutely.
I can only speak for me and our show, but like I know some people in the industry over the years have kind of moved away from phone calls or as much listener interaction. I just think it's silly. Like,
Yeah,
because there's
agreed.
so many, like there's a million podcasts now. Like if you just want to listen to someone talk, you can find a podcast. But if you want to be part of the show, that's why talk radio still works. It's why interactive shows work. And yeah, I mean, I only speak for my show, but like I'll give my opinion. I'll tell you what I feel on that particular day. That's my position. And then I want yours. Like you can call in and tell me I'm a dummy, or you can agree, or you can just tell me what you feel. Like cool, like whatever. We'll have a good time. And I think the station as a whole right now is got a vibe that is similar to the way I feel. So it's a cool place to work for sure.
All right, I'm going to let you go on this, Joe. Every guest that comes on this show has to give at least a one-word answer to this simple question. Right now, we just had a 3-answer win streak broken last week. Goodfellas or Godfather? You can only watch one the rest of your life. Which one is it?
Godfather.
I love it. Now we got a winning streak, 2 in a row. That's a winning streak right there. I like that. We went 3 in a row for Goodfellas. Now we got 2 Godfathers in a row. Joe Giglio, host of the Midday Show there on 94.1 WIP. I greatly appreciate your time this morning.
You got it, Phil. Take care, man.
Thank you. Go Phils.
Go Phils.
All right, guys, that was Joe Giglio right there. That was pretty cool to have him on the show there. Great comments, great thoughts from him. Nothing too over the top reactionary, nothing too under. Let me get to the comments in 1 second, guys. But real quick, I do want to pay some of the bills, guys. So real quick, sherrytickets.com. If you are in the market for tickets to sporting events, concert, theater, you want to go to an Eagles preseason game, you want to go to a Phillies game once they get back from this road trip, any of the great concert series, make sure you check out the place with no hidden fees, the place where the ticket prices are the best. Go to sherrytickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. You can use promo code EOP10 at checkout. It saves you 10% off on top of the already great prices. Make sure you check them out, sherrytickets.com. Guys, some of these comments here, we got lots of great comments. I did get it in for you, K1. I couldn't miss your question. Got it in for you. A lot of comments that I got to catch up on. I'm going to go to where I last started, but if I missed any of your comments, guys, let me know. It's Robbie who will hold this team back, Rob Thompson. He has no clue how to play small ball or use a bullpen. This team wins a lot of games in spite of Robbie. I have said this in the past, Michael. I don't disagree with you at all on this. I will just say I'm trying not to criticize Rob Thompson this year. I'm trying. Bottom line, Dombrowski believes this is the team to win a World Series. It is up to them to execute. They are too close to let this slip away. Yeah, but Mark, I mean, if this is the case, maybe Dave Dombrowski should have been a little bit more aggressive at the deadline. I don't know. I find it hard to say World Series or bust. Now, I find it easy to say that if they don't win a World Series, it's a disappointment. But once you get to the playoffs, I think so much can happen that I don't know. Now, it would be a complete disappointment if they got knocked out in the first round right away. We won a game. I know exactly where this is going. We won a game yesterday. We win one today. That's 2 in a row. We win one tomorrow. That's called a winning streak. It's happened before. Great movie. Great movie. Great line right there. Love it. Don't worry, Jerome Powell. We'll cut right. Oh, we're getting into the politics stuff in the comments. No, thank you. Yes, I know, Kyle. Yeah, I didn't know at first, but then I did know it through the group chat this weekend. But yeah, there you go. What's up, Stevie Fuentes? Hope you're having a great morning. Hope you had a great weekend. That sounds like Giglio. It was Joe Giglio on the call-in line. On the call-in line. It didn't even let me put his like blank screen. It just audio. No face from him. He is Paisan. Yeah, he's my Paisan now. At least they don't have that clown. Yeah, well, yeah. Godfather or Goodfellas. I got it in, guys. I got the question for you. Don't you worry. We are now 2 good Godfathers in a row, Friday and today. So now we get one more guy. When Martin Frank comes on, maybe he changes his mind and he goes back to Godfather. He's the next guest on Friday. Maybe we'll have a winning streak on the Godfather. Um, yeah, Innis is exactly the opposite of what Joe Giglio was talking about being an interactive show with the fans and caring about the listeners' opinions versus Josh Innis was just more of a hot take. He was more of the old school Howard Stern type shock jock radio. I don't think shock jock radio works in talk sports. Some channels, some networks, some places across the country have guys like Innis that are the shock jock style. But that's it. Godfather. Yeah. He's a Godfather guy. Yeah. He answered it with authority. Exactly, Mark. Exactly. Yeah. Real one for sure. Yes, Adam, you are the poster child for EOP and sherrytickets.com. 1000% appreciate the support of the promo code there. May your first child be a masculine child. Man. They play small ball for spells and then they abandoned it. I couldn't believe they didn't bunt Saturday night. Saturday night was such a tough one for me. Now, Friday night losing, getting smoked again, another game where Garrett Stubb had a pitch again out of the bullpen for the Phillies. It's never good when your backup catcher has as many innings in as Garrett Stubbs has this year already. But Saturday night, I went to bed before the game. I wasn't staying up till whenever it was that it ended. They were up 5-1 when I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, Sunday morning, checked ESPN.com to see, or the app to see if they won and what the box score said, showed that they lost Nooms. And I was not shocked or like, it didn't shock me that I saw Phillies had lost Saturday night. It didn't. Not at all. Godfather tells you a lot about the depth of man. Yeah, that's true. It is a true, yeah, absolutely. All right, what's Matty B got to say today? Make sure you check out the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn this Eagles season. Matty B and Kyle will start their 5th season overall and 2nd season on EOP for the best Eagles pregame. Did not know that. I must have missed that the last year because I've always been watching EOP. Must have missed the pregame show stuff last year. Maybe I was busy doing my own pregame. I don't even remember if I did pregames last year. But we'll do. Maybe I'll work on getting Kyle Quinn on here next. Did Phil just say Martin Frank is going to be on this week? I love his art. Yes, Martin Frank will be on Thursday. Martin Frank's one of my 3 go-tos, Anthony, for guests on my show and also when I want training camp coverage. It's Martin Frank, it's Chris Franklin, and it's Ed Kratz. They're my 3 go-to guys. And Martin Frank is one of the best. It'll be probably his 5th or 6th time coming on the show. He will be on Thursday. Haven't confirmed what time frame of the show yet, but he will be on Thursday. The only way Brandon Marsh is going to hit lefties is to play every day. I gotcha, man. Brandon Marsh, to me, Michael, is an everyday baseball player. 100%, without a doubt, a shadow of a doubt. He's an everyday player. You can't hit lefties if you don't get an opportunity. Everyone always said, well, he hit whatever. He was hitting so bad against lefties, right? But he had like 40 at-bats. Give him 100 at-bats. Give him 120 at-bats against lefties. Then judge his numbers. He actually had a pretty solid splits against lefties last year when he was playing more. I think Brandon Marsh is hurt. I think he's a little banged up, but 4 straight hits now against lefties? Come on, all the he can't hit lefties crowd, awfully quiet right now. I got out of the Army when Josh Innis came to Philly. Hadn't heard WIP in years, serving abroad. Innis disappointed me. Yeah, I mean, he was definitely one of the guys that I was not a fan of on any of the sports talk radio stations. And I am critical sometimes of the sports talk stations. I am. But they do a job that I understand. When I criticize the radio stations for things that I don't like, I also understand why they do what they do because it's a business and I'm a business owner and I know that. But somebody like Josh Innis it just doesn't work for me. Yes, Anthony, Franklin, Martin Frank, Chris Franklin, Martin Frank, Ed Kratz, they're top of the line. They're top of the line in my opinion. Yes, absolutely. A lot of these streaks start with an innocuous break our way. It was Marsh's catch. The Marsh catch was pretty hilarious. I think people exhaled when that sunk in. Immediately afterwards, the floodgates open. Yes, sometimes it's not a game that breaks a streak, a bad streak in any sport. Maybe it's not a game. It's not a specific thing. It's just a random freak play. Sometimes can take the pressure, take the edge off a team. And maybe the Brandon Marsh catch is what it is. And maybe we'll see. Starting tonight against the Dodgers, maybe this team turns a different corner. Maybe it does. Now, if the Phillies come out and lose 2 of the next 3 to the Dodgers, then we might be having a different story. Now, luckily for the Phillies, the Eagles' first game is Friday. So we're going to be focused on the Eagles a lot this week, especially Thursday and Friday. And the beginning of next week, recapping it and all that. It's great. But I don't know. If the Eagles weren't playing this week, we'd be a little bit more focused on the Phillies, at this point. He's a Texas guy. I don't know if he's a Cowboys fan or not, Adam, but it sounds right. If Godfather goes on hot streak, the Phils win the series. Calling it now. Gotcha. I like that. Phil stands on business. Look, it's all about business to me. Everything's about business to me. Good morning, Lil G. Hope you are well. Everything is about business. And you know who has a great business? PhillySportsTrips.com. Now, unfortunately, their trip to Brazil for Week 1, Eagles versus Green Bay Packers, is sold out. But there still are lots of great trips you could take with PhillySportsTrips.com to support your Eagles teams on the road. They got Tampa in September. Got a trip up to New York, a bus trip probably in October. Obviously, a bus trip down to Baltimore to see the Eagles take on the Ravens. And, of course, Dallas week in November. You can support your team. You can also book your deposits for spring training 2025. PhillySportsTrips.com. Make sure when you sign up, you let them know EOP Trending AM sent you. The premier travel tailgate experience there is for the Philadelphia sports fans right there. PhillySportsTrips.com. Right back to the comments. Has all the managers and players in his pocket like so many nickels times. Yeah. Is that right? I wish I did. In the offseason, if you were the Phillies, would you offer 25-year-old Juan Soto a 10-year deal? I think that's a better deal than Trey Turner. See, here's the thing, Michael. You can only have so many 10-year, $300 million players on your team. You really can. I mean, I know there's no salary cap in baseball, so you can spend as much as you want, but you really do need other things. But as Joe Giglio said there, Schwarber's coming up on the last year of his deal, so he'll be gone soon. Nick Castellanos has got 2 years left, I believe. He had one more year than Schwarber's deal, I believe. I don't know. I don't know if I would or not. Kind of torn on it. Do we really need 10-year Soto, 10-year Harper, 10-year Trey Turner all on this team? I don't know. At least Juan Soto's 25. He's much younger. I also don't think Juan Soto will sign just a 10-year deal. I think Juan Soto will probably sign for 12 or 13, but we'll see where the money goes to him. Dodgers are weathering a bad storm right now. If they aren't on a 4-game win streak into Arizona, something ain't kosher in Denmark. The Phils, that is. Innes is a Texans fan. Yeah. Yeah. I knew he was from Texas. I didn't know who he was a fan of. Batting order should be Turner, Realmuto, Harper, Bohm. See, I'm over the whole Schwarber leadoff hitter kind of thing. Schwarber, prefers and hits better when he's leading off. The splits say that. B, when he starts a game off with a home run like he did yesterday, it does help jumpstart the team. I don't have a problem with it. His on-base percentage is plenty good for a leadoff hitter. The only thing he doesn't have is speed in that leadoff spot, so I've got no problem with him in the leadoff spot. Turner is a prototypical leadoff hitter. So is Stott to an extent. I believe in Joe Hendry more than the Phillies. I believe in Joe Hendry. How funny would it have been, Mitchie Poo, if at SummerSlam, instead of Roman Reigns coming out to save Cody Rhodes, that Cody Rhodes would have just stood up on the ring apron and been like, Joe Hendry. And then he appears. Because when you say his name, he appears. How funny would it have been if Joe Hendry saved Cody Rhodes, not Roman Reigns? Anybody want to talk about, SummerSlam? Drop your SummerSlam thoughts in the comments. Great morning all on the live stream broadcast. Watching from Nassau. Absolutely love it. Love it. Can you stream like the radio stations down there in the Bahamas? Can you get WIP or the Fanatic on down there in the Bahamas. I don't know if there's an app to help you with that. CEO, visionary, acknowledgement. This is powerful indeed. Yes, that is correct. The Nationals and Angels are returning to the Phillies' other farm system. Yeah. Something when you mentioned the Angels, Nooms, it just still, to the people that don't want Brandon Marsh being an everyday player, it still just bothers me. Like, you gave up, big piece of your farm system to get Marsh, and you don't commit to him being an everyday guy, and it bothers me. Yep, Nassau, Bahamas. I love it. We're not just a Philly sports talk show here at Trailing the AM. We are an international sports show in the morning. International. It was always funny when I used to check. I don't check the analytics as much on my shows now. There used to be a year or so ago, they tell you what countries your show's being viewed in, and there used to be someone in like Denmark or something like that, some weird, some smaller European country that I used to watch. There was one listener. I have no idea who it was, but I always had it, and it was always so funny to me. Yeah, from a Paracel. Yeah, glad we didn't get Trout though. Yeah. Look, I brought it up briefly last week before they announced he was out for the year. I brought up the poll that I put on Twitter. Is Mike Trout a Hall of Famer? And I say, Adam, that he is. But with the injuries, I think he could have been. I think there is an argument to be made that if he would have stayed healthy through his career, that Mike Trout would have gone down as the greatest baseball player of all time. He was that talented when healthy. And when healthy, the numbers he put up the seasons when he was healthy were amazing. Problem is, health got in the way of what could have been the greatest career in baseball history, for sure. Did you see that flip off the top rope by Jake Paul? I did, dude. I am a huge I know Jake Paul is a D-bag. I know Jake Paul it's not Jake Paul, it's Logan Paul. Sorry. Logan Paul. I know the Pauls in general, Jake and Logan Paul. They're pains in the asses, whatever. Hate them, whatever you are. Logan Paul has committed to wrestling. I mean, Logan Paul has been a wrestler for like 5 minutes, and Logan Paul is doing flips off the top rope as crisp and as clean as possible. He's already a rich-ass millionaire. He don't need to be putting his body on the line like that, but he does. I think it's great, what Logan Paul does. I'm a huge Logan Paul wrestler fan. I really am. I wish we would have had Roman as a cameraman or a fan jumping the railing. I mean, the internet was real. No surprise to Roman showing up. Yeah. Look, SummerSlam was very predictable, but predictable in a good way. Everything made sense. Yeah, Roman could have come out a little different way, but we knew Roman was coming back. We knew it was happening. And it's long-term storytelling, Michael. That's what it is. The WWE have been trying to make Roman Reigns a face for a long time. It took them making him the biggest heel of all time and then letting him go away to turn him finally into a big pop. I love it. I love it. I'm to Bahamas. We get all the major news and sports channels, also radio stations from the East Coast. That's good. That's good. Actually, I'll be in the Bahamas. We're going on a Bahamas cruise for New Year's. And I think one of the stops is Nassau. Maybe me and Charles will link up in Nassau. Maybe. What is up, Patty Bernard, the Gobbler? How you doing? I don't know about the best. Maybe P&M in the AM is slightly better than me, but, that was probably me with my VPN set to Serbia. You don't want anybody to know where you are, so you're bouncing your signal off of like 9 different cell phone towers, right? Trying to hide it. Absolutely, Michael. I agree with you. I honestly think even with the injuries, that he should be a unanimous Hall of Famer. And we know nobody ever gets the unanimous thing outside of Mariano Rivera. Even Ken Griffey Jr. was 1 vote shy of being unanimous. Or was it Mariano Rivera was 1 and Griffey was unanimous? Anyway. But there are people, when I ran this poll, Michael, said absolutely not. Mike Trout does not belong in the Hall of Fame. I think it was like 35% of my poll clicked and no, Trout is not a Hall of Famer. And it shocked me. Damn, the Bahamas. I'm tuning in from Cleveland. You're in Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, nothing great ever happens in Cleveland, Ohio. Criticize him all you want. Logan can work. Logan Paul can work, and put in the work so he can work. I love it. I think it's entertaining as hell. I think they should have found $1 that made sense to him to be on a show every single week and just strap the world title on him and just let him do his thing. It's business. The guy puts in the work. I'm kind of glad CM Punk lost to put him in check. Yeah, I knew that match was going to be underwhelming. The buildup was too good for the match, and I don't think that they're done. I think they're going to have a few more matches. And LA Knight, the U.S. champ, kind of over LA Knight. I want him to go back to being, a heel personally. LA Knight, calling people dummies. Great interview. Thank you, Fred. Great. I appreciate that. Yeah, and again, I mean, we still got a good 45 minutes left in today's show, but I want to shout out again Joe Giglio for coming on. Much appreciated. Those guys, very busy. The fact that I reached out and he said yes without a shadow of a doubt he would come on this morning. I always appreciate the time of my guests. So I appreciate him coming on this morning. I've been watching wrestling for 50 years. This SummerSlam was one of the best from top to bottom card. Yeah, everybody was complaining about how predictable Michael SummerSlam was. I keep getting hooked here. But sometimes predictable is good. It means the stories make sense. So I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan and Flyers fan. There you go. I like that. I mean, we're not talking too much Sixers and Flyers these days, but we'll get back into them as we get closer to September and October and those seasons starting. I don't think Trout is even a debate. Well, let me tell you something. There are people that I ran this poll like Tuesday or Wednesday last week. It'd take me 5 minutes to go through that many tweets to find the poll and share it on the show. But there are plenty of people that commented and voted that Mike Trout is no way a Hall of Famer. And I think it's crazy. Take a shot. Stop, Mitch. I know you said you're turning 30 this week. Can we act at least like you're 15? I wanted to see them wait a little longer for the Roman to return. Yeah. I actually don't disagree with this, Eric. I thought maybe they should have started with Jay or Jimmy and Jay first and then have them get destroyed and tease the Roman a little bit longer. But it is what it is. Some were saying not even just first ballot. Not at all, Michael. And yes, it's crazy. But again, I give everybody the opportunity to have their opinion said. Everybody's opinion matters. He lives in the Bahamas. I know. Like 4,000 people tell me that. Thank you. Jelly Roll got in on the action too. My God. I thought Jelly Roll was going to have a heart attack. I really did. The boy's a big boy to be getting in that ring. And that choke slam, it was all Austin Theory. Did all the work, obviously. Those chair shots were a little awkward looking, but whatever. It's SummerSlam. You always got to get a celebrity involved somehow. People are. Like, I'm a Bobby Abreu stan. Isn't that the cool word? It's the stan. Like, I always love Bobby Abreu. Bobby Abreu's numbers, Nooms, are actually pretty borderline Hall of Fame worthy. They really are. People hate Bobby Abreu in Philly, but Bobby Abreu was a great Phillies player. And he was a great baseball player, honestly. There was a stretch in his career, and I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember watching a broadcast once, and they put up his numbers over like a 4-year stretch. Home runs, doubles, triples, steals, batting average, on-base percentage, all of it. And compared it to Barry Bonds in that same stretch. It was like a 4 or 5 year stretch. And he was right there with Barry. He was like the only other player to be averaging 20 across the board or whatever it was. Like, Bobby Abreu was a pretty elite baseball player. He had no personality. He never would take one for the team. He would never run through a brick wall a la Aaron Rowan. But he was a good baseball player. CO Vision, yeah. This is powerful indeed. Yep. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Friday, SummerSlam Saturday, Zeus Sunday, today Christmas Story House, Cleveland Rock. You're having a whole vacation out in Cleveland. I didn't even know you were at SummerSlam. Wow, how about that? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Breaking news this weekend. Instead of Steve Fuentes, Steven Tyler announced that pretty much Aerosmith is done. Where does Aerosmith rank in the greatest rock and roll bands of all time? Now, I've never seen them in concert. I am a big Aerosmith fan. Never got to see them when I was younger in concert. Where do they fall? in the pantheon of great rock and roll bands. They've got to be one of the best, right? In a month, I'm turning 30. I thought it was, maybe it was this month. Not, yeah. All right, so you can still be a child then, I guess. Yeah, exactly. I don't like to change anybody. Let them be. A cage match, dude. That would be like child abuse. Like I would literally get arrested for abusing a child, Patty. If I was in a cage match with him, it'd be like putting the Big Show versus Hornswoggle in a cage. That's what it would look like. Bobby Abreu will get into the Hall of Fame one day. Will he? I don't think he will. It would take the Veterans Committee to do that, Michael, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it's a conversation that people don't want to hear, but his numbers are pretty damn good. I could see if Trout was allergic to the wall and played zero defense, but for crying out loud, if people know how bad the Angels front office is about, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not just, but you can't just blame the Angels for it. He has to stay healthy too. W couldn't wait for Roman Reigns to come back. Raw switches to Netflix. Yeah. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Abreu's teams made the playoffs 4 times compared to once for Trout. Abreu also played 18 years compared to Trout, who can't stay. Yeah. Look, the Hall of Fame conversation comes up all the time on this show. I am not a fan of, look, the fact that Abreu is close to Hall of Fame worthy is a problem. Because I think the Hall of Fame should be much smaller. Should be much harder to get into. The voting process should be different. But based off of its current standards, it's a lot closer than people realize. Abreu versus Roland, who had more hate? Wow. That's a tough one. We hated Scott Rowland when he was here. We hated Bobby Abreu. They're both great players. Scott Rowland is actually a Hall of Famer. Man. I always wondered, Adam, what Scott Rowland's career would have been like if Citizens Bank Park would have been opened when he was still playing here. Because that was his main reason out of Philly, was he didn't want to play on the turf, I got my Vet Stadium turf right there. Okay? If he didn't want to play on that, if we could have gotten the new stadium, would he have stayed? And would he have gone down as one of the greatest Phillies of all time? I don't know. New bloodline versus original bloodline with either Sami Zayn or Maga's son with the original. Yeah, something like that. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Somehow The Rock will get re-involved in it in time for WrestleMania too. Bobby A. Boo Boo is not a Hall of Famer. Thanks for coming into the conversation now, Barb, on that one. Bobby A. Boo Boo. I like that. Bobby A. Boo Boo. I'm going to call him that from now on. I understand people don't like him. And I understand he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. But what I'm saying is his numbers are a lot closer to a lot of Hall of Famers than people realize. Absolutely. Absolutely. He still was a hell of a baseball player. I could separate the talent there. Abreu, Levy, and Roland were all not East Coast dudes and didn't fit the mold. Oh, how many East Coast dudes do we have on the team right now? I mean, Stott and Harper are Vegas guys. We used to have a lot of the 08 team were like Cali guys, like Utley and Victorino. So whatever. Maybe to get in the Hall of Fame, what Bobby Abreu needs is a great lawyer to help represent him, to help get his name in front of the voters. Maybe that's what he needs. And if he needs a great lawyer, or if anybody needs a great lawyer, you call the best in the state of Pennsylvania. Whether it's workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, you call the best. You call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Law Firm. You can call him at 610-565-0300. You can go to cherryinjurylaw.com and fill out the form. Let him fight for you and get you what you deserve. Again, David R. Cherry of the Cherry Law Firm. That number, 610-565-0300. Or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Just make sure you mention EOP and the number one morning show in Philadelphia, trending in the AM, when you give him a call or fill out that form online. There goes your cherry bombs for the day. Without commitment, you will never start. Without consistency, you will never finish. Interesting. That's a deep line for the day. A little too hungover for deep stuff. The turf was good enough for the greatest third baseman of all time. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I love having this little vet turf back here. It always brings it, just like I talked with Joe Giglio about memories of, that I had as a child growing up and listening to WIP in the car with my dad. I have a lot of memories of going and, watching baseball games being played on that turf. Dive into some of those numbers with Bobby Abreu and see how many of those were compiled with or down by more than 4. All right. Bobby Abreu is the Justin Herbert or the Phillip Rivers of the Phillies, I guess. The teams were never good. I get it. There's a lot of hate that goes towards. I didn't know this show was going to turn into a Bobby Abreu show. I did not. It was not part of the plan of the day. But that's where the conversation goes. Pat Burrell came here after Rollins refused. Pat was the first step in building that championship. Not Rollins, not Howard, not Utley. Building that team, I always still want to make sure whenever we talk about building that team, I always like to go tip the cap to one Ed Wade who drafted most of those guys. Aerosmith was the AAA version of Led Zeppelin. That's harsh. I don't know. Am I sacrilegious saying that I prefer Aerosmith to Led Zeppelin? I mean, Led Zeppelin is one of the greatest of all time, but I think I prefer Aerosmith personally. I don't know. I think I forgot. Nobody answered the question when I put it out there. I totally forgot that I even asked the question a few minutes ago, where Aerosmith ranks in the all-time list of rock and roll bands. I'm not sure. But yes, Led Zeppelin's more legendary, but better? I don't know. With the Judgment Day saga. Yeah, that was another very predictable thing. You knew Dom was going to turn. He didn't have to, but you knew it was coming. I would have rathered it been he turned and then Liv after he won her the title match, turns on him, and then Dom's just left alone. That would have been the way I would have gone, but that's just me. I would whoop David Archerry's ass in a cage match, just so you know. The Friday Night SmackDown, supposedly Roman is showing up. Yeah, probably. J. Rose drafted in 96, Burrell in 98. All by the great Ed Wade. Did Aerosmith make a good song after 1979? I don't know what songs were made, to be honest with you, Barbara. But Aerosmith's catalog over the last 50 years is pretty amazing. It's pretty deep. Again, I've never seen Aerosmith in concert. I'm just going off of what I've seen and heard on the radio. But the fact that they are calling it quits now after 50 years because of Steven Tyler's voice, it's a shame. You hate to see it. But you had to know his voice was eventually going to be shot, the way he sings and the amount he sang. Good morning, Duck. You missed a great show. We had the great Joe Giglio from WIP Midday Show on this show in the very, very beginning of the show, talking Phillies. And he tried to temper, the excitement, but also the disappointment. He tried to be very level-headed, which I love. The same guy that said, trade away Bryce Harper last year, it was very level-headed today. So you want to go back and catch that. Mike Arbuckle was just great at scouting talent. Yes, when he left for the Royals, it screwed this team hard for a decade. I remember we passed him over. He wanted to be the GM. We passed him over. He went to the Royals. Whatever happened to his career after he left here? I remember that happening and being like, the Phillies are losing the wrong one right now. I'll break it down. Let's get ready to rumble. Philly style, yeah. Pat Burrell was absolutely on the Phillies before Rollins. On the team or drafted by the organization might be the disagreement here. There was that song for Armageddon. Yeah. I mean, I hated this. Armageddon was just a knockoff version of Deep Impact, right? Steven Tyler versus Mick Jagger. There was probably an MTV celebrity death match between these two guys. I vaguely want to say that I remember that. I did not know that either. It was about Vince Neil. News to me. Dom Mysterio's top person getting. Dom Mysterio, I have, just like I love Logan Paul and what he's doing, I love Dom Mysterio. We're supposed to hate him. We do hate him. He plays his character so perfectly. I bet you if he had to be a face and a good guy and a wrestler, he could. But he is so good at what he does, at that character. I love it. I'm a huge fan. Arbuckle built the Royals into a chip. Was he there for? So he did have his imprint on the Royals championship. Okay, I wasn't sure timing wise on that. And just like Ed Wade was a big part of building the Houston Astros championship team. He was the one that went there after he left the Phillies and drafted and brought in, all their guys that were on that team. Yeah, cheaters, but, so Ed Wade and Mike Arbuckle both deserve a hell of a lot more credit in the Philadelphia Phillies pantheon of history than they are given credit for. Phil, I told you back in April that Tanner McKee would beat it. Hey, we haven't talked any Eagles today. We still got 30 minutes left in the show. I got a page full of notes on the Eagles. And you know what? This note, you can't see it really. The note right here, Davey, says Tanner McKee, second team reps with a question mark. I would have to go back and dig into my old network for my bad takes or my frustrating takes on the Kenny Pickett trade. But I still to this day believe, Davey, they hoped that some quarterback would get hurt somewhere in training camp across wherever, and that the Eagles would be able to flip Kenny Pickett for another draft pick. So they traded a fourth for him. Maybe someone gets hurt somewhere and they get a third back from him. Maybe that was the process. And you're seeing Kenny Pickett get second team reps, or Tanner McKee getting them over Kenny Pickett. It's one of the things we're going to talk. So on Friday, Deebs will be joining us on Friday, and we're gonna be ranking the players that we're most interested in seeing in Friday's preseason game. We are. So there is going to be a lot of time spent. I'm curious how Tanner McKee looks. I am. Yes. Judgment Day's biggest mistake and downfall was kicking out. Yeah. It's all gone downhill since then, right? Fair, but the question was any good songs. That was a good song, just not as good as their older playlist. Yeah, absolutely. Tanner doesn't play the Eagles' way, i.e. the running. Yeah. We don't know. We don't know what Kellen Moore's way is yet. Kellen Moore's way might not be quite as run heavy for the quarterback. We're seeing Jalen Hurts run, but not as much. We're seeing him under center more. We're seeing him do a lot of different things in training camp. We're hearing a lot of different things from training camp. I love to see Phil's notebook as a PDF. I once thought about when I started, in the very beginning, when I did one show a week, and that was it, K1, I did type my notes up so I can actually read them. But when you do 5 days of work a week, 5 shows a week, plus, it's very hard to type it up all the time. It's a little too much there. JJ Piccolo also built the Royals. He was on my little league team. Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool little nugget right there. Tanner doesn't have the mobility that Hurts and Pickett does, but I don't think they care about the mobility. I don't. Yeah, I'm no Tanner McKeester. I'm not a fan of Tanner McKee. I think if something happens to Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee has to start 6, 7, 8 games, we are bleepity bleeped. Any team that losing their starting quarterback for a long stretch is bleepity bleeped. But I think the Eagles are high on him. I'm not, but the Eagles are. Flipping Pickett, but I tell you, Tanner is accurate and can read the field. He's just not that. Yeah, and as long as he can make the throws that Kellen Moore wants him to make, I don't think they care about the mobility part. What do I think about the new kickoff? I don't fully understand every detail, but yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's going to add a new element to building a roster. I think it's going to add a new element to, it's going to bring back an old element to an extent. We haven't seen Devin Hester's or, guys like that for a long time make impacts on games. And now there's a chance that can happen again. We might see an Eagles kick return for a touchdown. I'll be curious to see who's back there returning kicks Friday night in the first preseason game. Tanner's a drop-back quarterback. Hurts is not and won't ever be, as he needs his running. Yeah, again, they're two totally different types of quarterbacks. But it doesn't mean that I know everybody wants the Eagles to always have their backup quarterback mirror the starting quarterback. So a running quarterback to back up a running quarterback. As long as the rest of the offense is sustainable, as long as he can make the throws and make the reads and make the adjustments, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Can't play under center, and most quarterbacks that aren't mobile play under center very well. I don't know anything about Tanner McKee, really. I mean, all I know is from training camp last year and preseason games last year. That's all we know about Tanner McKee. And that's it. Based on what we see in Dallas and San Diego, there will be less running the quarterback than what we absolutely agree. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you on that. A lot of curl routes, right? Can't be any worse than Mariota. Look, I think Marcus Mariota was fine as a backup. Not great, not bad. As long as Jalen Hurts doesn't miss much time, the backup doesn't matter. If Jalen Hurts misses a lot of time, whoever the backup is, it doesn't matter. We're not going to win a lot of games. I think either way, it doesn't matter. That's just my opinion. Warren Sharp said today on the Ross Tucker podcast that Ross Tucker tagged me to help me share out. It's always funny when Ross Tucker tags me to help share out his podcast. But yeah, I got to get Ross Tucker on this show sometime this training camp season. That the most efficient plays our quarterback runs is a big part of why the Eagles always favor running quarterbacks. Interesting. I love Ross Tucker. New special team rules, depth factored into how he's drafted. Maybe. And Aeneas, is it Aeneas? I don't even know how you say Smith's name. Isn't having a good camp on the special team side of things. His way onto the wide receiver rookie, his way on this roster was through special teams, and he's struggling mightily. Britton Covey is not. Smith might get the cut. Maybe put on practice squad. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think it matters as long as the offensive coordinator and head coach are good at adjusting. Exactly. Wentz and Foles were two totally different players. Hell, when we went to Sam Bradford, when Chip Kelly went to Sam Bradford wasn't an RPO offensive running quarterback. People always mistake RPOs as that RPO quarterbacks have to be mobile. RPOs don't have to be. It's run, pass, option. Hand it off or throw it. It doesn't mean you have to have this super mobile quarterback. At least that's my opinion. Oh, man. Randall McNabb, Vic Hurts. That's what Lori's way. Yeah. Who else saw Randall Cunningham's daughter in the Olympics? The apple don't fall far from the tree. The ultimate weapon has a daughter on Team USA. That's an ultimate weapon. Well, how about that? Big surprise that the rocket arm, the ultimate weapon, has an Olympic daughter. She was on the track and field team. It wasn't the long jump. It was I forget what you call it when you run up and you jump over the bar without any, not the pole vault, but the other jump, the high jump. I don't know. Is it called the high jump? I forget. Anyway, she did really well with it. Not surprised that Randall Cunningham has an Olympic daughter. Hurts was number one in the NFL passing from the pocket. Yeah. Anthony, anybody that says opposite, they just want to hurt. They have an agenda against Hurts. They want to hate on Hurts. That's just that. In my opinion, better find a dependable third wide receiver that they trust that could step into either Brown or Smith's role if needed. There's a lot of comments and a lot of thought process being spent on the Eagles' third wide receiver. Knock on wood. Actually, I don't think this is wood. I think it's like fake wood. Brown or Smith have been healthy, in their time in Philadelphia. But what if? You hear a lot of talk that the wide receiver 3 is going to be a rotation depending on defensive matchups. Is this a year where, hold on, let me page back in my notes to my thing here where I track, team players making the team. So last year they only kept 4 wide receivers out of camp. Normally it's only 5, but in 2020, Howie did keep 7 wide receivers on the opening roster. 7. Now, It makes other positions different. He kept less offensive linemen, less tight ends that year, less of a lot. But maybe that's the thing. I don't know if he would keep 7, but maybe he keeps 6 wide receivers this year. You have Brown, Smith, Covey, Paris Campbell, John Ross, and then one of the rookies. Both rookies put you at 7. It's interesting. Pickett is practicing against the first-team defense. Hurts is practicing against the second-team defense. Tanner's going against the third team. Can't really judge Pickett in training camp. Look, Kenny Pickett's a good, solid, okay quarterback. Probably a better backup than starter. But he does have starting value on the trade market. I don't know. I'm still, Mister, you've been watching my show for a long time. You remember when he was signed, I was on my previous network, that I was not a fan of the trade for him. You know that. But it doesn't mean I don't think he's a good quarterback. It just means I just didn't see the value in that trade. That's all. Anthony is cherry bomb picking. Yeah. I was a fan of this kickoff in the XFL. I'm glad the NFL switched to it. Makes kickers be more a part of the game because they have to keep it out of the end zone now. Yeah. Hurts likes Johnny Wilson. We've seen Johnny Wilson we haven't seen Smith get the first team reps. We've seen Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey. We've seen, Paris Campbell, John Ross, all running with the ones. We haven't seen Smith running with the ones, or at least reports that I haven't seen. Mitchell, DeJean, Smith, all good special teams. Well, Smith is having a very poor special teams run in camp. DeJean hasn't done anything yet in camp because he's been hurt. Isaiah Rodgers has done some. We've seen that obviously as well. There's going to be a lot of interesting options there. It's pronounced Anaya Smith. Anaya Smith. Hurdles. Oh, was she doing hurdles? Randall Cunningham's daughter? I thought it wasn't hurdles. I thought she was doing the high jump, but still, it's crazy to think that a Pro Bowl quarterback, ultimate weapon, also has an ultimate weapon as a daughter. I think it's great. I love the stories that come out of the Olympics like that. I watched a lot of Olympic sports this weekend. I really did. I love the Dutch 400-meter relay team. Is that a joke? I don't know. A few NFL teams have been looking at kickers who can tackle and quick now. Yeah, well, wasn't David Akers like a judo guy? He was a great tackling kicker. So he'd use the judo throw to bring you down. There's a difference between mobile and running quarterbacks. Hurts is a runner. Hurts is also a very accurate quarterback. Hurts is actually a very good passer of the deep ball. Hurts is actually a very good quarterback. He's not just a runner. I think most people's issue with Hurts is that he abandons the pocket too soon. When he doesn't, he has success. See, here's the thing, and this is a conversation we can get deeper into. There's still 20 minutes left in the show, so maybe there's time for this. How much of him abandoning the pocket is confidence in the play calling, confidence in the wide receivers? If your read is to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and they're not there, does he have the confidence in Quez Watkins to go to his third read? How much of it is the play calling? How much of it is so much that goes into it? Why? So we'll see this year with Kellen Moore if he stays in the pocket longer before he breaks off. Does he have more confidence in the play calls? Does he have more confidence in who's his third or fourth guy? Now he's got Saquon Barkley back there, another weapon for him. I don't know. I also think, and it's a very controversial thought, that the Eagles' offensive line has not been as elite as people think it is in pass protection. And sometimes he abandons the pocket because he feels the pressure and he doesn't have the confidence in the offensive line. I really think people overvalue the Eagles' pass protection the last couple of years. It's not been as good. I think like the whole Lane Johnson didn't give up a sack for like 14 million straight plays or something like that. How much of that was he didn't give up a sack because Jalen Hurts abandoned the pocket, rolled out, and scrambled for a first down? So I just think people don't want to hear that, but it's something that I've said a few times. Looking forward to Vic's presser this morning. Absolutely. I cannot wait to listen to it. The Eagles did add a linebacker, Shaquille Quarterman, this morning. Breaking news from Adam Scheffler this morning, right before we went live. He's never, I think he had 2 plays he played last year. He's a nobody. But yesterday, Nick Sirianni, again, without being asked about him or the linebackers, brought up Zach Bond's name again. Unasked, brought up Zach Bond's name. So it looks like it's the Zach Bond, Devin White show to start, with Trotter and Nakobe Dean pushing those guys. They're the only 4 linebackers making the team, in my humble opinion. With our weapons and offensive line, I think Pickett would do just fine. Yeah, for a game or 2. But anytime your starting quarterback goes down for a lengthy period of time, any team, period, you're going to struggle. If Daniel Jones goes down for the Giants, they're going to be even worse. I don't even know who the Giants' backup quarterback is. Randall Cunningham is more popular in Philly than all of us combined from California. It's not fair. Randall's, yeah. I would love to get Randall on the show someday. Looks like linebackers yet again a weak spot. Howie, shaking my head. Is it? I don't know. I still don't think linebackers are our weakest position, at least overall. It might be safety. I don't know. I've got a lot more confidence, Brian, in Devin White than a lot of other people do. I'm being impressed from what I'm reading about Zach Bond, but we'll wait to see it on the field week 1 against Green Bay in Brazil. I just worry about the depth behind them. Randall, yeah, I don't know. I wanted the Eagles to sign Tyree Taylor as backup quarterback this past offseason over Pickett or Tanner. Again, and that goes to Tyree Taylor being able to mimic Jalen Hurts a little bit more than Kenny Pickett can or Tanner McKee can. But I don't think it's necessary. The German basketball team is going to give Team USA a fight for gold. Yeah, we'll see how that is. I stopped paying attention. Team USA basketball. Olympic basketball is my least favorite Olympic sport, honestly. Hurts the last two years, pocket passing ranked first in completion percentage, second in passer rate, third in yards per attempt. People will comment on things without knowing what they're talking about. Yeah, look, there's people that are just against Jalen Hurts, Anthony. There is. I hope Hurts goes through his progressions faster this season than last season. Yeah, you got to go through them faster for sure. Get through your second or third read quicker. But also goes to confidence in the play calling, confidence in the team, and stuff like that. He holds the ball looking to run instead of just throwing it away. If there's nothing there, we'll soon find out if he changed. There's 2 ways to look at this, Barbara. You want him to hold the ball, look at all his targets, and then throw it away. If he does that, then people will complain, well, why did he not run with the ball and try to pick up 3 or 4 yards? When he does that, he holds onto the ball. Like there's if he does what you're asking him to do, the other side of the equation is going to argue that he's not doing the other thing. I don't know. Jalen Hurts is such a, for as much success as he's had on the field, he is far too debatable. He draws such a fine line for everybody of hate or love. If I was in the Olympics, what sport could I compete in at this point? I can't run or jump or do anything like that because of my leg. So something that doesn't involve running or jumping or anything like that. It's like archery, maybe. Maybe I'd be an archery guy or the shooting. Who's the guy that it's got he looks like a hitman out there with his gun. At this point in my life, that's pretty much all I could probably do. I do not have any leg strength to do any other sport at this point. Maybe golf. I could play golf. Not at an Olympic level, but I could. I guess that would be about it. Golf or archery. That would be my Olympic sport right now. See, this is the thing. You got Anthony on one side of the equation, and you got Barbara on the other side talking Jalen Hurts. And you got 2 totally different opinions between Anthony and Barbara. And there's no common ground between Anthony and Barbara. It's Anthony's far right and Barbara's far left, or vice versa. I held up my right hand and said left. I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. Peyton Manning would be in trouble with the Giants. Yeah, I would not want to be the quarterback of the Giants. I wouldn't want to be a player. Drew Lock is Giants back. Oh my God. Thanks for pulling that information out for me. But yeah, that's a damn shame. Randall is living in Vegas, has a stone and marble business and a congregation. Yeah, didn't know he had a business, but I did know he is a pastor. We all want to believe in Zach Bond, but you have to wonder if that's just Howie mouthpiece. Maybe. And he's never played the inside role that he is going to be asked to play. And while he's succeeding at it in practice, in training camp, we won't know till game 1 whether he succeeds in a game at it. So that is a concern, for sure. Olympics are a joke and a sham. I still enjoy them. I do. I love watching sports and the passion people have for their country. Traveling all over the world to go watch your athletes, perform. Fencing, yeah, no. I guess there's not a lot of leg. I guess I could probably fence duck. I'm just sitting there thinking of my right leg. I'm a right-hander, and my right leg, would I lead with my right leg, or would my right leg be my anchor in the back? I'm trying to think of fencer. I think my right leg would be in the front. I don't know if I don't know. Yeah, there were some Vegas connections too. I knew. Moore will bring the best out of Jalen. We hope. Jose, we hope he brings the best out of Jalen. But maybe Jalen also has to bring the best out of Kellen Moore. Look, Kellen Moore's had regular season success in his career as an offensive coordinator, but his teams haven't done anything in the playoffs either. So they have to just be on the same page. Jalen and Moore have to be connected. There can't be this disconnect like there was with Jalen and Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni last year. Look, we didn't get into it today, so we'll save it for tomorrow, and we'll talk about it a lot tomorrow about Nick Sirianni and this CEO leadership type role that he has and how confident I am in it. But we need everybody to be on the same page, bringing out the best in everybody. No, I can't swim. I literally physically cannot swim. So you put me in a pool, I will drown. Doesn't think Brady or Peyton were the best quarterbacks because they didn't run. What? He has nothing to say about the running. This is about the accuracy of him as a pocket passer. I watched the surfing yesterday and thought it was super interesting. I've enjoyed the Olympics, Anthony. I have. I've enjoyed the stories. Now we're on from gymnastics and we're going to track and field now this week. Track and field's a little less exciting. I mean, it is exciting, but it's a little less exciting than gymnastics to me. But yeah, I'm with you. The Olympics are for losers. What? I never said they're for losers. What? I never said that. I love the Olympics. Brian Johnson could drag down any quarterback. Look, I said it then, and sometimes I hate being right, but I was right last year. I said the biggest issue with the Eagles were going to be Brian Johnson and Sean Desai bringing in 2 inexperienced coordinators for a young coach coming off that Super Bowl. You needed 1 veteran coordinator, whether it was offense or defense. You didn't. And I hate saying I was right, but I was right. Now you go out and you get Vic Fangio, a legendary defensive coordinator, who's had some success and had some failures, but been doing it a long time, has no intentions of wanting to be a head coach. He will be the DC here for as long as we let him be. And then you go out and get Kellen Moore, who's a young up-and-coming offense coordinator, young football mind, but has experience and has been doing it for a long time. So, big difference between the coordinators of last year and this year in just the weight they carry in practice. You know, when they say something, when Kellen Moore goes to Jalen Hurts with X, Y, and Z, it carries a little something because he's been there. He's done it before. They need to run the ball like they did during the Super Bowl year. This team plays better when they run. Yeah, absolutely. This offensive line was built to run block. And this offensive line is much better at pushing forward than backing up. I've said it for a long time. And I think getting Saquon Barkley does prove that even Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, to an extent, understand that running the ball could make this team a little bit better. You don't spend all that money on Saquon Barkley to not commit to the run. If Brian Johnson wasn't calling what Sirianni wanted, he wouldn't just let it happen. I'm sorry. If Brian Johnson wasn't calling what Sirianni wanted, he wouldn't just let it happen. I don't understand what you're trying to say there, Jack. Rephrase. Johnson is Hurt's close family friend. That's why he was hired. Yeah, he was unofficially promoted immediately after Shane Steichen left. But I said I don't think that would necessarily, just because he was close with Hurts did not make him a great offensive coordinator. Him being a great quarterback coach did not mean he was going to be a great offensive coordinator. So I said it was a potential mistake, and it turned out to be a big mistake. I've been watching the Olympics since 72. Jose, you're old. Is there controversy at times? Definitely. But these athletes train for years to represent their countries. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I don't care about Olympic basketball, because I don't care about NBA players playing basketball in the Olympics. I want to see the events that literally they train their whole lives for a moment in the Olympics. I want to watch the stories of these athletes from other countries that just making the Olympics makes them the most famous people in their country. Other countries hold their Olympic athletes to like this reverence compared to in the U.S. Unless you're Phelps or Simone Biles or Kate Ledecky, unless you're the elite of the elite, you wouldn't even know who some of these guys and girls are. I could do powerlifting and badminton after getting in shape. I was pretty good badminton, pretty good badminton player back in the day. Run the ball. Does that mean running back to running or Hurts? Me, I think you're going to see a lot more running back runs. You're going to see Saquon Barkley get the ball. You did not sign Saquon Barkley to this deal from to carry the ball 12 times a game like DeAndre Swift would. That is not what you did. You did not spend $35 million to have Saquon Barkley run it 12 times, Kenny Gainwell run it 10 times. You paid $36 million to give the ball to Saquon Barkley 20 to 25 times a game, running or passing. That is why you pay him that money. Team USA is playing Sixers legend Raul Neto. Who was the other kid on that team? Trey Burks. I used to get so many people hot and bothered on Twitter when I would say Raul Neto is greater than Trey Burks. It used to piss people off so bad. Who's he play for? Raul Neto. Was he Spain? Is he Spanish? I forget where Raul Neto's from. Wow, that's impressive. He must have been athletic. Yeah, powerlifting. Yeah, that's definitely not me. Oh, I know there was joking going on. Powerlifting was never something for me. I can never bench press a damn thing. One final great sponsor of this show is Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, guys. For 65 plus years, PJ and the crew there and the family have been great food, great times, the quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County. So go check them out. Dolan's Bar, 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park. DolansBar.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can find them on all social media platforms when you go in. You mention Trending in the AM, mention EOP to PJ and the crew, guys. Dolan's Bar, Ridley Park. Make sure you check them out, guys. And make sure you're hitting that subscribe and follow button on all platforms. 7-day-a-week programming right here on Edge of Philly Sports. I'll be live tonight with Deebs and the crew at 9 o'clock. We're talking Eagles tonight. Fairway to Heaven will be back tomorrow. I'm working on that schedule right now, Jason and I. Don't know what time tomorrow just yet. But we'll be back tomorrow with Fairway to Heaven, Wyndham Championship. But make sure you're hitting that like. 13 likes on Facebook. Not sure how many on YouTube, but I'm sure it's not enough. Hit that like, that share button. We're coming up to the final 5 minutes of this conversation today. But I want one final time, I shout out Joe Giglio, Midday Show host at WIP, for coming on for the first 20 or so minutes of the show today. Brazil. What about Brazil? Not joking, though. I'm a strong dude. Hey, you're an Army guy. You got to be a little strong, right? Thank you. Show's not over. Still got a couple more minutes. I don't think I got any days this week that I got to cut short. Today has actually been overtime. You guys got free overtime because I started the show 10 minutes early to get all the mumbo jumbo out of the way before Joe Giglio joined us. So you're actually getting a 100-minute show today. 100 minutes of live, me talking. I'm feeling it. My coffee's empty, and I'm feeling like I'm running out of energy here. I appreciate that, Adam. I never have to worry about you. Eagles got Barkley because they finally realized Hurts can't carry a team without a strong running game. I don't know. That sounds like a negative Jalen Hurts comment to me. Oh, Raul Neto is on the Brazilian team. So Spanish, sort of. So not Spain, but Spanish. Okay, gotcha. Brian Johnson need to be an assistant offensive coordinator somewhere for a bit and get some of that experience under his belt. Yeah. I was torn last year too, because I was saying that he couldn't call play. He had never called plays, but he did call plays when he was at Florida. Brian Johnson got Kyle Trask drafted by an NFL team. So Brian Johnson is a smart football mind. Going into last season, we made him the offensive coordinator, but he was receiving interview requests for head coaching jobs last offseason. So there are people in circles around the NFL that feel Brian Johnson is a smart mind. You just put a lot of pressure on him to take over an offense with little experience, and you didn't go out and get any experienced guys to even help him. Like, all right, so you're going to make Brian Johnson your offensive coordinator. Well, you better go get a quarterback coach then that's called plays before. Somebody else to help him there. But that was a big mistake. I should just get that for the extended 10 minutes that I've put into this show, for sure. I meant on the badminton part. I'm sure you were a good athlete. Yeah. I love it. The Eagles' best addition to the team is Fangio, as he brings stability like Jimmy Johnson. Yes, I'm a big fan of the Vic Fangio signing, not necessarily because I like the Vic Fangio system or style, but because I like having an experienced coordinator in the building, someone that's been in this league for 40 years, that knows every ins and out, has seen everything, that can be a sounding board for Nick Sirianni. Is Vic Fangio going to be up in the booth? Is that what I keep hearing? He's not going to be on the sideline? It's been a while since we've had a defensive coordinator up in the booth and not on the sideline. People who know Johnson say he was calling what Nick wanted, not what his history was. Okay, so what I think it was, Jack, and this makes your comment earlier a little bit more understanding. Nick Sirianni gave him the game plan. Nick Sirianni designed the game plan, and Brian Johnson called off of the plan that was set forth throughout the week. I still think he was making the final say on plays, but the plan was put in place by Nick Sirianni. That's how I think it kind of all went down. And it all went downhill, and it was all a disaster. It was. I mean, even the wins last year weren't pretty last year for the Eagles, but it is what it is. We're moving on from last year, just like the Eagles are. Well, I've already said this, Michael, plenty of times. Kellen Moore is our offensive coordinator for 1 year. He's either going to be the head coach of the Eagles or the head coach of another football team next year. No doubt about it in my mind. Which means we're going to have a new offensive coordinator again next year. Desai was a descendant. Yeah, exactly. That's always something that bothers me. Everyone's like, oh, we got Big Fangio. Yeah, well, everyone hit Desai's defense. That was basically Fangio's defense. Yeah, everyone says that, well, we got the inventor instead of the pupil. We got the professor instead of the pupil. But you know what? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that style. But I do like the personality of Vic Fangio. I do like the experience of Vic Fangio. I do. And you know what? Maybe I'll work on it for tomorrow. Got to do all the research on, or I'll just bring up a tab tomorrow of all the years that Vic Fangio's defenses have ranked and where they've ranked. Barbara, I was a 3-on-3 playground legend. Wish 3-on-3 was in the Olympics 20 years ago. Yeah. I was a playground legend in my own mind. Growing up in Ridley, white boys didn't get on the court too often. But when we did, we had to put out 110% effort. My take on press conference yesterday, he's not having anything with the BS questions. He's ready to play. I didn't see the CJ presser yesterday. I'll have to go back and look for that. But we also didn't get into Nick Sirianni and the shot heard around the NovaCare complex from last week. I want to dive into that tomorrow. We are going to talk a lot of Nick Sirianni tomorrow and the vibes I'm getting from him. So that is definitely on the agenda tomorrow. Will we? I don't know. People think we will. But Vic Fangio's system does not blitz as much as people think. I'd rather have Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions, offensive coordinators. Yeah, Ben Johnson's staying with the Lions. See, now there's maybe the hope with Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore. Brian Johnson stayed in Detroit, or Ben Johnson stayed in Detroit instead of taking a head coaching job. Maybe the Eagles find a way, if everything goes well, to pay Kellen Moore head coaching money to stay offense coordinator here. I don't know. All right, guys. With that being said, I think it's the wrap-up process. An hour and 10 minutes long, or 100 minutes long today. I think I'm tapped out. Mentally tapped out already on today. So I got to get moving. I got to get to work. But with that being said, like, share, subscribe, Trend the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Shout out to all our sponsors. Shout out to all you, the listeners. Shout out to Joe Giglio for joining me this morning. Fantastic episode. We're going to get into Eagles hardcore tomorrow. Probably some Phillies as well. Did the Eagles African-American hurdler make the Olympics? I don't think he did. You're talking about Devin Allen or whatever. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, absolutely. My tailbone actually feels okay today. Yesterday it hurt like hell, but today it feels a little bit better. So I appreciate you checking in on that. Yeah. Till next stream, deuces, right? Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. We're right back at it, guys. With that being said, have a great Monday, guys. The last hot day after today, the heat's going to break for a little while. We're going to get a little streak later this week of some 70-degree days, which will be really nice for the pizza shop at least. But with that being said, guys, everybody have a great day. Go Birds. Ring the bell. Bubbles up to you guys.